Hi, welcome to the Destin Business Forum. I'm your host, Amy Perry. It's brought to you by the Destin Area Chamber of Commerce. Our first guest is Dr. Bawa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while.
Thanks.
And you finally opened an office in Destin. It is, tell me exactly where it is.
It's right across from Bass Pro Shops. You can't miss Bass Pro Shops.
Right,
so
right.
It's right across. There's a street called Crystal Beach Drive. You turn onto Crystal Beach Drive, and we're the first set of offices on the left.
Okay. All right. And you have a general practice, correct?
Right.
Which, by that I mean you do regular medicine.
Exactly.
If I have a cold, if I have a fever,
Right.
come see you.
Yes, but we do a lot more as well. So it's not just general medicine, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll get into.
I was reading some information that I printed off from your website, but I wanted people to know first that you're a doctor. You went to the University of Illinois. Is that right?
I was in Chicago for 15 years, did my medical school at University of Illinois, I've done a master's at Loyola University, did my undergraduate at Northwestern.
And you like the weather so much there, you decided to move to the beach.
It's so much better here. It's a great town. Love it here.
It's a little warmer here. Okay, so let's go back to your practice. You have a pretty varied practice from what I was reading on your website. You focus on some weight loss, I saw, and something that really jumped out at me was this hormones. As I'm getting a little older, I'm starting to focus a little bit more on that.
Right.
And I saw something, it's been a while ago, but an episode of Oprah, she was talking about bioidentical hormones versus regular hormones. Can you explain that a little bit?
So yeah, there's bioidentical hormones, which are basically what the human body makes. They're generic, they're not very expensive, but there's nobody marketing them. So that's why Oprah, Suzanne Summers, they try to raise awareness that there's some physicians who are trained and who understand how to use bioidentical hormones, but most physicians actually are not trained and will use Premarin. Premarin stands for pregnant mare urine. It's collected from pregnant horses and from the urine. So it's really a waste product of a horse estrogen. But it's the most commonly used estrogen in this country, even now after the Women's Health Initiative study showed about 10, 15 years ago that it increased the risk of heart attacks and strokes and blood clots. But our society has kind of assumed that all estrogens, all hormones are like that. But in reality, the human estrogens are made for humans.
That makes sense.
Right, and there are studies, they're not as big as the Women's Health Initiative study, but there are several studies in Europe showing that they're safe, that people do well with bioidentical hormones. There's even one study showing that people lose about 15 pounds in weight if you just adjust their hormones correctly, which makes sense. Hormones adjust our metabolic rate, so if you don't have any hormones at all, the metabolic rate is lower, people don't burn energy as fast, so people tend to gain weight. And even Oprah has talked about how women as early as the age of 35 start to get hormonal imbalances, and even she said that women should start to get their hormones checked as early as 35, because if you adjust it early on, oftentimes you can delay some of the effects, or you can eliminate some of the weight gain that oftentimes happens in the 40s and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'll be making an appointment for that. So in all seriousness, that is something that you test for. Is it a blood test or?
There are blood tests, but the best way is with a saliva test. The reason is that in blood, most hormones are bound to protein and most of them are inactive. So the blood testing is testing mostly of the inactive stuff. So you don't get a good measure of what's actually working. In a saliva test, only the active hormone is filtered out, so you get a better measure of what's actually working, not just what's bound to protein and is inactive. So saliva testing is better. So when we really want to get to know where the levels are, we'll do a saliva test, and then we can adjust it. The best way to get hormones is actually with a cream. When you take a hormone pill, it's chewed up by the stomach acid, by the liver, and that's why we think some of the increased risk of blood clots and strokes and heart attacks that the Women's Health Initiative study showed was because they were not only using horse estrogen, but they were taking it orally.
I see.
So
I
it
see.
didn't even stay anything similar to what they took, because the liver and the stomach acid chews it up. So ideally when we give it as a cream, and then a saliva test is a better way to check when you take it as a
See if you have
cream.
the
It
right
comes out correctly in the saliva, but not as much in the blood.
Okay, so you go to your practice, you get the hormones right.
Right.
That seems like that would make you lose a little weight, maybe?
Exactly. Not only does it, improve the mood. Some people, the sex drive is a big issue. But yeah, people lose weight. For example, women, a lot of people don't know this, need a little bit of testosterone. Women, young women, make small amounts of testosterone. But as women get older, they stop making as much. And testosterone helps with sex drive, it helps with the metabolic rate. And so the saliva test is able to get a good measure of testosterone for women, and we can give a really tiny dose in a cream, and oftentimes it makes a huge difference with sex drive, with weight loss. So yeah, adjusting the weight is a great thing. And then as I started to use bioidentical hormones, I saw people losing weight, and then they wanted more help. And so I use a lot of different things to help people lose weight.
Yeah, you have a wide variety of different things. I saw, just to name a couple of things, I know you do thermage, some Botox, just different things to make the body on the outside look better.
Right. And for weight loss, we do a lot of different things. There's HCG is something that's commonly used for weight loss.
Now, what is
HCG stands for human chorionic gonadotrophin. But it's basically the hormone.
Say that 4 times real fast.
Right, it is a long term, but a lot of people know HCG for weight loss. A lot of people who've read up on weight loss know about it. You've never had an issue, so you don't know.
Oh, please, no.
But yeah, even Dr. Oz has had several shows on HCG. And basically it's a hormone that's actually produced in pregnancy. In pregnancy, women need to be able to use the fat, so it allows the fat to come off more easily. Early on in pregnancy, women are vomiting, and that's partly because of HCG. You don't get as much of a dose as pregnant women make, but when you get some HCG, people just don't feel as hungry. You don't vomit, but it just takes away some of the appetite, and it just boosts the metabolic rate. It's commonly used for weight loss. We use that, but we use a lot of other things. There's medications, there's phentermine is used for weight loss. There's even a medication that's used for headaches called Topamax that suppresses appetite. And then it helps to be a physician and look at the patient as a whole. There's a lot of people who come in who are really stressed. We live in a really stressful society. So if you control the stress, people stop eating as much. So sometimes
some stress eaters, yeah.
Exactly. We all tend to, when we're feeling bad, the economy is bad, we tend to overeat. So, oftentimes I'll just try to control the stress, and people start to lose weight.
Dr. Bawa, I am almost out of time. I could listen to you talk for the entire show. If people want to get more information, they can visit your website. It's www.drbawa.com.
Right.
But one thing I wanted to mention before we are out of time is you do genetic testing, which really jumped out at me when I was reading this.
Right.
Somebody can come in. Is that a blood test or a saliva test?
It actually uses saliva. They take the DNA from saliva, but it's the ultimate in prevention, because if we can look at our genes and see what we're predisposed to, we can see. I found out I was at risk for Alzheimer's and heart disease, so I can do the things in advance when I'm young to make sure that I don't get those things. I can be, make sure that my cholesterol is lower, and so it helps to know what you're at risk for, and you can try to help to do whatever possible to control it. And it's not like it's written in stone. It's only a slightly higher risk for any of the diseases. So it might be 4% is the average, but somebody might be 6%.
But still, you can take some preventative measures if you know that. That is something that's really interesting to me. Thank you. I hope you come back and talk to us a little bit more, because our time just seemed like it flew by. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
We'll be back.